Are China and United States raising the stakes with nuclear warmongering? Washington has signaled that it is prepared to resume low-yield nuclear testing, potentially ending a moratorium in place since 1992. Christopher Yu, Assistant Secretary of State for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation, said that Washington was ready to act if needed. The Assistant Secretary of State for Arms and Control indicated that Trump was serious when he said in October 2025, without giving any details, that United States would resume nuclear testing.
Because of the tremendous destructive power, I hated to do it having to do with nuclear weapons, but I really had no choice. Russia is second in line and China is a distant third, but will be even within 5 years. Because of other countries' testing programs, I've instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately.
At a Washington-based think tank event, the Trump administration officials said that the United States will return to testing on an equal basis, but also made it clear that they will not go back to the Ivy Mike-style atmospheric testing in the multi-megaton range. He was referring to a massive 1952 thermonuclear detonation in the South Pacific by the United States. Though there is no confirmation or a timeline of when the US would begin these tests, the timing of the comment is significant. The world is currently in a nuclear control flux. The new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or START, which was the last remaining nuclear arms treaty between the US and Russia, ended on February 5th. That treaty limited each country to have 1,550 warheads on deployed missiles capable of crossing continents. Trump has refused Moscow's offer to extend the treaty for another year, as he argued for a better agreement that includes China. President Trump floated his idea for an improved three-way deal despite China's stockpile being much lower than the other two nations. Washington has recently accused Beijing of conducting secret nuclear tests. U.S. Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security said at a conference in Geneva that China had failed to disclose a 2020 nuclear test. That was echoed by the Assistant Secretary of State, who quoted a remote seismic station in Kazakhstan having measured an explosion of magnitude 2.75. That was located 450 miles away at the Lop Nur test grounds in western China back in June 2020. The claim says decoupling methods may have been used to reduce detection signals. China has dismissed those accusations of violating the test moratorium, and the strength of that evidence is still being debated amongst experts. But that has armed the United States to ratchet up its rhetoric.
I can reveal that the U.S. government is aware that China has conducted nuclear explosive tests, including preparing for tests with designated yields in the hundreds of tons. The PLA sought to conceal testing by obfuscating the nuclear explosions because it recognized these tests violate test ban commitments. China has used decoupling, a method to decrease the effectiveness of seismic monitoring to hide their activities from the world. China conducted one such yield-producing nuclear test on June 22nd of 2020.
So does this raise fears of a possibility of another Cold War? The United States opened the nuclear era in July 1945 with a test of a 20-kiloton atomic bomb, and then dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 to force Japan to surrender in World War II. The Soviet Union shocked the West by detonating its first nuclear bomb just 4 years later in August 1949. Between 1945 and the 1996, over 2,000 nuclear tests were carried out. But at the end of the Cold War, the world's major nuclear powers declared a voluntary moratorium on nuclear testing. Erstwhile Soviet Union tested its last nuclear weapon in 1990, United States in 1992, and China in 1996. This moratorium was put in place as part of an effort to maintain nuclear stability. Is that now about to be completely uprooted? Will the United States walk this talk on nuclear testing? It's important to keep in mind who has how many nuclear weapons in their stockpile if countries start actively testing them. Now, exact nuclear stockpiles remain classified, but independent estimates provide a rough picture. According to the Federation of American Scientists, Russia is believed to have roughly 5,400 to 5,500 nuclear warheads, while the United States has roughly 5,177. Those numbers vary depending on who you ask. Washington, D.C.-based Arms Control Association says that the United States has a stockpile of 5,225 nuclear warheads and Russia has 5,580. China is the third largest nuclear power with just about 600 warheads. Now, China is widely assessed as the third largest nuclear power. As per Pentagon's latest estimate, China has more than 600 nuclear heads by the end of 2024, but that could reach 1,000 by 2030. Now, that still would be far below what US and Russian stockpiles stand at, but the speed of the growth is what is alarming many. From Trump's announcement in October 2025 to his administration remarks 4 months on now, the rhetoric is only intensifying. US President Trump often tries to project strength as a negotiating tactic. So is this just another such tactic to get China on board for a trilateral nuclear treaty? Well, for now, Washington has downplayed global concerns. But this nuclear brinkmanship has raised valid fears. Will there be a chain reaction? Is this just the beginning of a dangerous new phase of nuclear competition? And if this triggers a chain reaction, where does that leave our new multipolar world?
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.